No romantic fiction, just rigorous historical and literary analysis.
Era 2, Drama and Art, 5th century BC. Authors: Pindar, Aeschylus, and Euripides. Focus: The Humanization of Suffering by Pindar, Cosmic Horror by Aeschylus, and the Divine Variant of Athena by Euripides.
Pindar, ca. 462 BCE, Pythian 12. Pindar, in celebrating the victory of Midas of Acragas in the Aulos competition, offers a mythical origin for the music of the Aulos, linking it directly to the death of Medusa. The ode describes the feat of Perseus, called son of Danae, who completed his mission and petrified the island of Seriphus and its inhabitants. Pindar's focus, however, is on what happened immediately after the decapitation. As Perseus fled with Medusa's head, her immortal sisters, Steno and Euryale, emitted a heart-rending funeral lament, Thranos. From their unapproachable serpent heads arose a sharp and desperate cry of sorrow. It was the goddess Athena who heard this sound. Inspired by that powerful and terrible lament, the goddess reproduced it and transformed it into art. She thus invented the many-headed melody, polycephalon nomon, for the aulos, the wind instrument. In this way, the cry of terror and mourning of the Gorgons was imitated and transposed into a musical form, forever uniting the horror of Medusa's death with the birth of an art form.
Aeschylus, Medusa as abomination and mirror of guilt. Aeschylus defines Medusa through her physical lethality and her function as an archetype of terror. The lethality of the gaze, Prometheus bound, 798 to 800. Aeschylus describes Medusa, the Gorgon, as winged and possessing hair composed of serpents. The primary empirical data provided is the immediate effect of her gaze. Anyone who looks upon her instantly ceases to breathe, pnoas. She is explicitly termed misanthropos, enemy of mortals, indicating a specific ontological hostility toward human existence. The iconography of guilt, Koepheroi, 1048 to 1050. Aeschylus utilizes the specific image of Medusa to describe the Erinyes, the Furies, who pursue Orestes. By defining them as Gorgon-like, he establishes that Medusa's appearance, characterized by serpentine hair and black robes, serves as the visible manifestation of internal torment and divine persecution.
Euripides, Medusa as divine weapon and biological paradox. Euripides integrates Medusa into the political and divine history of Athens, introducing fundamental variants regarding her death and her properties. Medusa in the Gigantoiky, Ion 987 to 995. Euripides reports that Medusa was generated by the earth, Gaia, as a weapon to assist the giants in their conflict against the gods. In this specific version, it is Athena herself who slays Medusa, rather than Perseus, subsequently placing the monster's head at the center of the aegis, the divine shield or breastplate. The paradox of the blood, Ion 1000 to 1015. From the death of Medusa, 2 drops of blood with antithetical powers are derived. One is an instantaneous lethal poison, while the other is a medicinal agent, pharmakon, capable of healing. Consequently, Medusa is the sole mythological creature to simultaneously embody total destruction and medical salvation. Medusa as a symptom of madness, Heracles 990. Euripides employs the Gorgon's gaze to describe Heracles' loss of reason.
As the hero descends into madness, his eyes are described as distorted like those of the Gorgon, indicating that Medusa's power has evolved into a metaphor for the insanity that transforms a human being into a monstrous entity.
Towards the Roman era and synthesis. After traversing the stages of the Greek theater, where Medusa embodied the conflict between the human and the divine, the myth undergoes its final, radical temporal leap. Centuries later, in imperial Rome and within the great encyclopedic compendiums, the story of Medusa receives its definitive form. It is here that the Gorgon definitively ceases to be a monster by nature and becomes the tragic victim we recognize today.
And it is precisely in this light, that of a tragic victim, that the myth of Medusa takes on a completely new resonance, a meaning that transcends the simple narrative of a monster to delve into the complexities of the human experience. This transformation from a terrifying entity to a pathetic figure is not a mere change of perspective, but the result of a profound cultural and philosophical rethinking that took place in ancient Rome. Roman society, with its emphasis on law, morality, and historical narrative, reinterpreted the figure of Medusa through different lenses, which began to emphasize not so much her intrinsic monstrosity, but rather the circumstances that led her to such a fate. No longer just a being born to instill terror, but a figure whose sufferings and endured injustice become central. It is in this context that her story is enriched with human nuances, elements of injustice, and a pathos that makes her incredibly close to modern sensibility, capable of evoking empathy rather than just fear. The Roman Medusa is no longer solely a terrifying image, but a warning, a figure embodying the fragility of beauty, the cruelty of fate, and perhaps the arbitrariness of the gods. This evolution is crucial to understanding how the myth was shaped and handed down, acquiring layers of meaning that still make it an object of study, reflection, and an enduring fascination.
This epical transition, which we have just outlined, directly introduces us to the third and final era of our in-depth study of Medusa, a period we will explore in detail in the next video. It will be an immersion into the works of authors who crystallized this new vision, providing the myth with its most complete and, in many ways, definitive form. We will particularly discuss three key figures who, despite operating in different contexts and with different approaches, contributed decisively to defining the Medusa we know today: Ovid, Pausanias, and Pseudo-Apollodorus. We will begin with Ovid, the great Roman poet who lived between the 1st century BCE and the 1st century CE. His famous Metamorphoses will present us with a Medusa whose original beauty was violated, a priestess transformed into a monster not through her own fault, but due to an unjust divine punishment. His poetic narrative not only offers us a vivid and dramatic account, but also imbues the figure of Medusa with a dimension of tragedy and injustice that profoundly influenced the subsequent perception of the Gorgon, making her a symbol of lost innocence and cruel destiny. His version of the myth became the most widespread and shaped the collective imagination for centuries, transforming the figure from a mere monster into a symbol of suffering and divine vengeance, a powerful echo of the injustices that can strike the individual at the hands of higher powers.
Next, we will delve into the perspective of Pausanias, a Greek geographer and traveler of the 2nd century CE. His description of Greece offers a unique and often rationalistic view of myths. Pausanias, in fact, tends to demythologize divine and monstrous figures, seeking historical or geographical explanations behind the legends. In his account, Medusa is not so much a supernatural monster as she is a Libyan warrior queen, a historical figure whom Perseus allegedly defeated in battle.
This interpretation, which strips Medusa of her divine aura and places her in a more earthly context, offers us a valuable counter-narrative, highlighting how even in antiquity there were attempts to rationalize myth and anchor it to historical and geographical reality. His vision allows us to appreciate the plurality of interpretations and the fluidity of the myth itself, which adapts and transforms according to cultural and intellectual contexts. Finally, we will analyze the contribution of Pseudo-Apollodorus, whose Bibliotheca, probably compiled between the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, offers a systematic and almost encyclopedic reconstruction of the myth. Apollodorus, with his meticulous collection of legends and genealogies, provides details and connections that helped crystallize the narrative we know today, inserting Medusa into a broader and more coherent mythological context. His work is fundamental for understanding the structure and coherence of the myth, offering a solid basis for subsequent interpretations and for understanding the interconnections between various mythological figures. It is thanks to these authors that Medusa definitively ceases to be a monster by nature, transforming into the tragic victim whose violated beauty and cruel destiny still resonate today with extraordinary emotional force. We will analyze the human tragedy hidden behind her figure, her transformation from a terrifying entity to a symbol of injustice and suffering, and the systematic reconstruction that shaped the Medusa we all know, the one who inspired countless works of art, philosophical reflections, and archetypal psychological studies. This is a part of the myth that you absolutely cannot miss, as it completes the picture of one of mythology's most fascinating, complex, and tragic figures. The third era is imminent and promises to reveal the final, poignant details of this millennia-old story, offering a definitive perspective on its evolution and its cultural and psychological impact. To ensure you don't miss the release of the next video and to continue exploring with us the depths of mythology, history, and archetypal psychology, we warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate notifications to stay updated on our new content, and leave a comment with your thoughts, questions, or theories about Medusa. Your support and engagement are fundamental to advancing these in-depth analyses and building a community of enthusiasts. Thank you for following us this far, and prepare for the final revelation of Ovidian Medusa, the tragic victim whose petrifying gaze hides a story of profound injustice and an eternal warning about the human condition.
If this content pleased you, I invite you to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next videos. Your support truly encourages me to keep creating content like this.